While many wait for your fall, a divine God reveals supernatural protection for 40 days. In the heart of a quaint English village, where the aroma of fresh-baked bread intertwined with the morning dew, Anna stood resolute in her bakery. Whispers filled the air. Many villagers, consumed by dread, eagerly anticipated her collapse. "How can faith save our beloved Anna now?" they murmured. Yet, unknown to them, heaven had ordained a divine promise. Late one tempestuous evening, as thunder roared like a distant war drum, Anna closed her eyes for sleep, weary from the weight of sorrow. The atmosphere crackled with energy as she drifted into an extraordinary dream. A majestic figure, enveloped in heavenly light, beckoned her. "Fear not, dear child," said the figure, whose voice resonated like a gentle choir, "for I shall send forth protection for 40 days. Light poured forth from the presence, swirling around her like an embrace. It was a promise, a sacred vow. Awakened with a heart aflame, Anna felt clarity washing over her, dispelling shadows of doubt. "I will pray," she resolved, feeling the power of Saint Michael himself surge within her. She glanced out her window at the darkened streets and breathed deeply. Time for action. Before she could gather her thoughts, she spotted a flicker outside. The church bell, ringing out defiantly, called the faithful to gather. Anna stepped out into the chilling air, and a hushed reverence hung over the village like a fresh snowfall. In the soft glow of lantern light, she called to her neighbors, "Join me, let's unite in prayer. Together we will reclaim faith." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as they looked at her, astonished yet drawn in. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. That first night of collective supplication echoed through the village. Their voices, rising like smoke from a sacred fire, ignited embers of hope in hearts long simmering in fear. Each evening that followed, villagers convened, hand in hand, offering up the names of eternal vigilance. Anna's humble spirit rallied them. They shared tales of ancestors who faced trials, triumphing against the darkest of nights. Her pleas became flames of faith taller than before, pooling into their shared souls. But as the days wore on, the challenges mounted. A fierce illness clung fiercely to her son, and her bakery sank deeper into despair.
The initial fervor of her newfound unity faced its breaking point. Desperation crept like a thief into her heart. Which way was the path of faith? One night, as the final prayer lifted from trembling lips, Anna faltered. Could Saint Michael really protect them all? Just then, a deep silence enveloped them. In the stillness, clarity shone through. An unexplainable warmth surged. It was hope. Eyes opened wide with reverence as Anna gasped. Could this be the moment? As she prayed, the air shimmered, and for a breathless heartbeat, it seemed that heaven held them close. With the 40-day promise counting down, the villagers questioned not just Anna's faith, but their own. Would their cries be met with divine favor? The mystery hung in the balance, thick and palpable. What miracle awaited as they stood on the precipice of the unknown? Would it strengthen their faith even beyond the 40 days? The nights passed, each one wrapped in the celestial glow of collective hope. Yet within this sacred circle of faith, an undercurrent of unease began to churn. The villagers, though linked by their prayers, faced their own personal storms. Anna's son remained frail, his laughter dulled by fever. Her bakery shelves, once brimming with the joy of golden loaves, stood bare, an echo of what once was. Each dawn brought a fresh wave of uncertainty, whispering doubts sliding through the cracks just like the morning light. In the early hours of one morning, Anna stood in her bakery, kneading dough with hands that wore the marks of toil. She loved the art of bread making, the way flour transformed under her careful watch. But today, the dough felt heavy, a reflection of the burden in her spirit. As she worked, the visions of her village, her neighbors gathered at dusk, those shared prayers, and the flicker of hope around the lantern crept into her thoughts. Her heart swelled with a longing to see them all flourish, to bask in the light of restoration that she felt was close, oh so close. "Lord, what must I do?" she whispered aloud, her voice trembling with sincerity. "You've promised protection for 40 days, But what must I do to see it manifest? In that moment, the gentle chime of the church bell echoed through the village, calling everyone to morning service. A deep tremor of faith stirred within Anna. She felt compelled to gather her villagers once more, to unite not just to pray, but to act, to serve one another with love and compassion. In her heart, she knew this was the divine invitation she had been waiting for. As she stepped into the cool air, her resolve strengthened. The sun had barely risen yet, casting a soft, golden light over the cobblestone streets. One by one, villagers began to join her, their faces still sleepy but curious. Anna's heart beat faster. "Come, let's gather together at the church," she urged. "Let us create a community feast. Our joy must flow like the bread we break."
Excitement rippled through the crowd, whispers of hope blooming into tangible actions. They busily began arranging a day of sharing, collecting what they could spare, wheat, vegetables, and even sweet fruits from their gardens. Hands reached out, papers flew to draft invitations, and laughter began to replace sorrows. As the sun reached its zenith, the church glowed with preparations. Tables adorned with white linens stretched like welcoming arms. The aroma of baked goods filled the air, blending with the sweetness of ripe summer fruits. For the first time in weeks, joy seemed possible again. Anna stood at the head of the long table, heart swelling with gratitude as she looked upon her neighbors working side by side. "Today we give thanks for what we have, no matter how little it seems," she said, her voice steady and bright, "because together we are richer." At that moment, amidst laughter and shared stories, a child tugged at Anna's apron, her wide eyes sparkling. "Are we doing this because of St. Michael?" "To remember, dear one," Anna knelt to meet her gaze, "that faith is not just in words, but in our love and actions towards one another." And as they broke bread together, an inexplicable warmth enveloped the church. A flicker danced in the air, something almost heavenly, uniting their hearts. They basked in a glow of love, their faith now palpable, tangible in ways they had never anticipated. But as the feast reached its peak, shadows began to creep in. A mysterious figure appeared at the church door. Whispers echoed around the gathered community. Who was this visitor, and what message did they bring? Could this stranger be a messenger of change, a test of their faith? The air thickened, anticipation coiling tight within them, and with it came the poignant question, what revelation awaited as the clock ticked towards the end of their 40 days? The figure loomed in the doorway, wrapped in a cloak that danced with shadows. The murmurs of the villagers hushed, transforming into a collective breath held in suspense. Anna's heart raced, a symphony of emotions clashing within her. Fear, curiosity, hope. "Who are you?" she called, unable to suppress the tremor in her voice. The crowd shifted, their eyes wide, taking in the presence that felt simultaneously ominous and full of potential. The stranger stepped forward, revealing a face marked by time yet radiant with an inner light. "I come not to frighten, but to bear witness," he spoke, his voice smooth as flowing water. "I am Elijah, a seeker of faith, sent to your village at this holy hour." "Witness to what?" Anna replied, her eyes narrowing, but her spirit enlivening with conviction. She sensed an air of purpose about this man, and her heart urged her to listen. "Your feast of love," Elijah declared, "is a divine illumination. You gather in unity, and in this moment you are not just community, you are a living testament to the promise of God." He paused, gauging their reactions. But the days ahead will not be simple. Challenges loom, and your faith will be tested. A murmur traveled through the crowd, uncertainty mingled with excitement. They shared glances, recognizing the truth that lay beneath his haunting words. "The next step is crucial," Elijah continued, his gaze piercing through the assembly. "You must narrow your focus, not only on abundance and joy, but on serving each other in vulnerability. Find the needs within your hearts and see how they connect to each of yours. Your desires are not separate from the divine plan. They weave together, forming a tapestry of unbroken faith." A weight of understanding settled among them. Anna felt a revelation bubbling in her spirit. "We must open our hearts to one another, not just for feasting, but for healing too," she exclaimed, as a wave of agreement rippled through the villagers. Elijah nodded, his eyes glimmering like stars. "Such connection transforms despair into celebration. In your togetherness lies the divine power to shift mountains. But no, Trials may come to test your commitment to this newfound unity. Joy and fear danced together. Anna felt her resolve deepening. "We will stand together," she declared, her voice ringing loud, igniting strength in everyone present. "From this day forth, let us not merely share bread, but share burdens and joys alike. We are to be a beacon for one another and those who wander lost." The stranger smiled knowingly, the flicker around him appearing brighter. "Then let it be so," he said, and with that, the warmth in the church surged anew, filling every nook and cranny with light. But at that moment, the air trembled as the wind rushed through the open door. The villagers recoiled slightly, a chill threading through their joy. Whispered fears clung close, latching onto them like old enemies. "Beware, for darkness often trails light," Elijah warned, the breeze swaying his cloak. "Be vigilant in your faith, for as you gather strength, shadows will seek to divide." Around the table, anxious hearts began to flutter. Would they be ready for what lay ahead? Would their unity withstand the challenges that would break upon them like waves crashing against the shore? As excitement mingled with trepidation, Anna reached for the small child's hand. "Hold tight to faith, dear ones, for the journey is just beginning." What further surprises awaited in the days ahead? Could their communal heart withstand the inevitable trials? Would they emerge transformed or fracture under the weight of fear? Elijah's presence lingered in the air, thick with the weight of prophecy. The villagers could feel that something significant was about to unfold. The dark wind continued to swirl outside, rattling the old wooden beams of the church, almost as if it heralded a storm both within and without. Anna's heart beat like a drum, resonating with the collective pulse of the crowd. She glanced around, meeting the worried gazes of her neighbors.
Each face held its own story, its own fears and hopes. "We have to stay united," she spoke softly but firmly. "Let's pray together and offer our fears up as a sacrifice." With that, heads bowed and hands clasped, a wave of whispered prayers filled the room. It was a sound of love, of vulnerability and mutual surrender. They spoke their fears aloud, each word weaving them tighter into a shared fabric of faith. Elijah watched, a gentle smile creasing his weathered face. "This is the first step," he affirmed, the light around him becoming even more vibrant. "You lay down your burdens before the Lord, and He shall lift you up. In unity you will find strength, but remember, the dark will not leave quietly." The wind howled outside, almost drowning out the prayers. For an instant, a flicker of doubt crossed Anna's mind. What if we are not strong enough? The thought nagged at her, but she shook it off. They were in this together, and each heart added to the fire of their faith. Elijah raised his hands, and the murmurs subsided. "You must now prepare for challenges that come not just from without, but also from within your hearts. What you fear most will try to separate you from love. Now is the time to choose faith over fear." There was a heavy silence as his words settled in like a lead weight. The villagers felt the truth of it. A few gasps could be heard as the shadows in their hearts, long buried, began to stir. "But know," Elijah continued, "that you are surrounded by a divine presence. Just as darkness follows light, so shall light prevail." With that proclamation, a golden glow filled the church, tangible and warm. The villagers looked up, awe painted across their faces. It was as though a warrior spirit hovered over them, bold and defiant against the encroaching chill. "God's protection is here for your hearts, your families, and your community, even against the fiercest trials," Elijah declared, his voice filled with unwavering conviction. "And there will be trials, of that you can be certain." The air quivered, resonating with a deep truth. A woman stepped forward, her voice shaky but resolute. "What if we fail? What if we are torn apart?" Elijah met her gaze, his eyes pools of understanding. "Victory is not simply survival. It is how you stand together when storms come. It is in love, in believing when things seem impossible, that you find the path through." The congregation nodded, grappling with the intensity of their journey ahead. A chorus of amens broke through the tension, filling the air like a rising tide. Elijah's spirit soared. "Together we shall face all that comes. Our fears will not define us. Our love will lift us." As they took hands again, the warmth of community enveloped them. Yet, even as hope ignited in their hearts, shadows lingered at the edges, whispering doubts and uncertainties.
Would they truly embody the light in the face of darkness? Suddenly, the wind calmed, revealing a profound stillness.
It was a tranquil pause, pregnant with promise, yet laced with uncertainty. As night began to fall, dread and anticipation danced hand in hand. What trials would test this fragile hope, and could their unity withstand the moments when the darkness threatened to consume them? As their prayer session drew to a close, a soft rustle swept through the congregation, a gentle reminder that the next chapter was upon them. The soft tranquility in the church soon gave way to a sense of urgency. As the last prayer faded into silence, the flickering candlelight danced like flames of hope. Yet the atmosphere crackled with tension, a reminder that the night held mysteries yet to be unveiled. Elijah looked deeply into the eyes of each villager. This moment is but a prelude. Prepare yourselves. What is coming will test the very core of your beliefs. His voice, once soothing, now took on a weighty tone that reverberated through the wooden beams, his prophetic gift igniting the room. Anna felt the intensity of those words sink into her soul. "We will not falter," she declared, her resolve firm as granite. "We will stand as one." The elders murmured their agreement, voices rising to a crescendo. "As iron sharpens iron, so shall we sharpen one another," an elder remarked, his hands trembling with fervor. With a collective breath, they steeled themselves, but apprehension gnawed at the edges of their bravery. Whatever trial loomed ahead felt monumental. Like a river that cuts through rock, it wouldn't yield easily. Elijah, sensing their unease, captured their attention. "Look to the heavens, for the Lord watches over you." He pointed towards the stained glass windows where last light played upon the surfaces, each color shimmering with divine promise. "During the next 40 days, you will face challenges that test your spirit. But hear me well, God's protection will be your fortress." Anna glanced outside where the shadows lengthened and stars began to twinkle with an otherworldly glow. The dark wind, now a distant murmur, seemed to draw back in reverence. Surely they had witnessed the hand of God in the marvel surrounding them. "What does this mean for us?" a young man called out, his brow furrowed, a flicker of fear in his voice. "Expect the unseen," Elijah replied, his eyes gleaming with wisdom. "There will be temptations to divide you, doubts that ensnare your hearts. But remember, the Lord will place divine whispers in your ears through these days. Trust in those nudges, for they will lead you closer to Him." The congregation began to murmur solemnly, an energy building around them, as they pondered what this supernatural protection might look like. Would it manifest in miracles, or perhaps a profound peace amidst chaos? Anna felt hope surge within her. We will grow through these trials. Each challenge will strengthen us, forge our faith into something unbreakable, she proclaimed, her voice steady, urging others to believe in their power to overcome. The golden glow that enveloped the church flickered, bathing their faces in a divine light that kindled their spirits. They began to chant verses from memory, words of strength, love, and unity, each phrase becoming an anchor amidst dark uncertainties. Hours seemed to slip away in a moment of worship as they surrendered their fears back to their Creator. They prayed vigorously, their voices intertwining into one mighty sound. The warmth of the Holy Spirit filled the space, weaving through their hearts, a gentle reminder that they were not alone in the coming tempest. But the night still wore its cloak of intrigue, and just as they drew together in spirit, a pulsing darkness encircled the town outside. The wind swirled with renewed ferocity, windows rattling once again. "Remember, every storm serves a purpose," Elijah whispered, catching Anna's eye. "It clears the way for a brighter dawn, but it's up to you to choose faith over fear." As if summoned by his words, a low rumble echoed from the depths of the night, a reminder that the real test lay before them, just beyond the walls that protected them. With hearts racing and spirits alight, they turned towards the darkened doors of the church, poised on the edge of something magnificent. Would they have the strength to confront what awaited them? What miracles might God reveal to them in this journey of trials? And would their unity hold firm when the darkness descended? With the tension in the air palpable, Elisha stepped forward, his shadow a giant against the flickering candles. "Tonight we stand not just as a congregation, but as a fortress," his voice boomed, echoing through the hall. "We are more than mere villagers when united in faith.
seated at the table of grace, we become warriors for Christ. Anna could feel the heartbeat of hope swell and intertwine with her own. It was as if the very walls around them pulsed with life, entwined with prayers that surged like a river. The elders nodded knowingly, their faces etched with determination and faith. Outside, the howling wind whipped through the streets, a fierce companion to the impending trial. "Will our strength be enough?" an elderly woman whispered, her eyes reflecting both wisdom and worry. "Aren't we small against the night?" "Small? No," Elijah replied, instantly responding with fervor. "When we place our trust in God, our smallness becomes His strength. With Him, even the tiniest seed can move mountains." The congregation erupted in fervent amens. Anna felt exhilaration washed over her. If this was indeed their moment, they would not shy away from it. They would stand against whatever darkness loomed beyond their threshold. "Shall we boldly ask the Lord for clarity?" Anna proposed, her instinct urging them forward.
Pray for insight into what lies ahead, for wisdom to navigate the unseen. The villagers clasped hands, forming a circle of unity, palpable energy passing among them. "Heavenly Father," Elijah began, his voice steady, "reveal to us your path, a light upon the waters of uncertainty." As the words flowed like soft rain, a gentle warmth enveloped the group. The candle flames flickered in resonance, swaying as if dancing to a heavenly melody. Anna squeezed the hand of the elder next to her, emboldened by the shared spirit. Then blissful peace settled upon them. Each participant, lost in silence, felt an inner confirmation, the whispers of divinity wrapped around them like comforting arms. A shared understanding filled their hearts. They were not alone, not even for an instant. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the outer doors, a thunderous reminder that the storm outside was encroaching. Instinctively, the villagers huddled closer, their faith becoming a refuge. "Stay grounded," Elijah exclaimed, lifting his hands toward the heavens. "This is but a moment. Fear not the tempest. It is a vessel for God's truth." Gathered in unity and worship, they began to sing hymns of praise, voices raised like a choir of angels. Each note soared above the chaos, wrapping them in a cloak of divine security. Even amid uncertainty, joy sprang forth like springs of water amid a desert. As daylight flickered from behind the stained glass windows, a sudden stillness swept through them. It felt almost magical. The tension of anxiety melted into hopeful anticipation. Anna, eyes shining like twin stars, marveled at the strength they drew from one another. "Look!" A young boy pointed toward the door, where shafts of light began to penetrate the entrance, pushing back the shadows. "It's brighter." "Yes," Anna exclaimed, inspired by the miraculous sight. "The light battles the darkness. Our prayers are heard." Their collective faith blazed brighter than any storm could dim. But as the light danced at the threshold, an unsettling chill raced through the air. The wind whipped once more, an ominous whisper carrying on its breath. Something was shifting outside. "Are you ready for what is to come?" Elijah asked, a glint of challenge in his eyes. "Will you stand firm as the waters rise?" Anna held her breath, her heart pounding with both anticipation and fear. The closing moment belonged to the unfolding of God's plan. What would be revealed, and would they have the courage to face it together? The darkness lingered only steps away, but it was not the end. There was much to learn, a message to uncover. Their journey was only just beginning. What lay beyond the threshold, awaiting their first step into the unknown? As they huddled in their sacred circle, the wind howled outside, a chaotic symphony that threatened to drown out their harmonious voices. The light flickering at the entrance pulsed like a heartbeat, fluctuating between brilliance and shadow.
Anna's spirit pushed against the weight of fear, clinging to hope. "Pray, everyone," Elijah urged. "Let's invite his presence among us. Acknowledge the light that has shone upon our gathering." Each villager tightened their grip, breaths mingling in a delicate rhythm of prayer. "O Lord, in you we trust," they murmured, each one echoing the declaration. Anna's mind raced. So much rested on this moment. What would happen when the storm swept in? Would the walls of their faith hold strong, or would their sanctuary crumble under pressure? "Look at the door," a voice cried. The young boy's eyes, wide and bright, drew their attention away from their quiet despair. The door trembled, as though something powerful pressed against it, longing to burst forth into their haven. With one mighty crash, the gust flung it open. The villagers gasped, bracing themselves against the force. But instead of chaos, they were met with a spectacle, celestial light pouring in, glimmering like stars caught in a whirlwind. As the brilliance spilled onto the floor, something amazing began to happen. The shadows receding, a figure emerged from the glow, a tall, radiant presence, adorned in flowing garments that shimmered like dew-kissed grass. Silently, the figure stepped forward, a smile illuminating a face full of peace. "Do not be afraid," the figure spoke, voice deep yet soothing, as a warm breeze enveloped the room. "For I am here to share a message of protection, hope, and unwavering faith." Anna felt a wave of comfort wash over her, the serenity deepening as the village came to recognize the divine emanation. "Your steadfast hearts have reached the heavens," the figure continued. "You have chosen to trust despite the raging storm. For 40 days I shall shield you from trials unseen and trials yet to come." Exclamations of joy erupted among the villagers, eyes glistening with tears of relief. Anna's heart danced. 40 days! God was taking the wilderness burden off their shoulders, a divine intervention to prepare their spirits. But then more whispers rustled through the crowd. Doubts hovered like mist, even in this moment of beauty. An older woman spoke again, her eyes wide but weary. "But what is to come? Can we withstand the onslaught of temptation and despair when it returns?" The figure turned, gaze piercing yet gracious. "Hold steadfastness in your hearts. The enemy may strike, but with love and unity you will triumph. Remember, in every moment you have my light to guide you, through storms, through fear." Elijah took a deep breath, emboldened. "What must we do to ready ourselves for the challenges beyond? We cannot merely wait in safety." The figure nodded slowly. "Prepare your souls with prayer, draw strength from each other, and share the bounty of love I have instilled among you." With those words, the celestial light began to flicker and fade, yet it left behind warmth and strength in their midst.
"You will shine brightly if you trust," the figure affirmed, retreating to the threshold. "Now go forth in peace, and when the 40 days have passed, there will be new growth, fresh hope, and revealed mission." As the brilliant light receded, the doors swung shut softly, leaving a gentle aura behind. The villagers stood in stunned silence, hearts racing with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Anna felt electrified, but apprehension danced at the edges of her thoughts. "What lies ahead?" she whispered to herself. "Will we truly be ready?" With a chorus of amens affirming their unity, they found courage in one another. Each member began whispering their own hopes, fears, and dreams into the air. What would this portal of 40 days awaken among them? Their journey had just begun, and they knew they had to tread carefully into the openness of transformation that awaited. Would they be prepared to face the challenges ahead, or would fear and doubt creep back in, shadowing their faith? The quiet lingered in the wake of the figure's departure, a charged silence filled with uncertainty and anticipation. Anna took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle in her chest. The villagers exchanged glances, conversations springing up like wildflowers after a rainstorm. "Did you feel that?" a young woman whispered, her eyes wide. "It's as if he wrapped us in a blanket of warmth. We can face anything." Elijah nodded, his face aglow with fervor. "That's right. This is our time to stand firm in faith. It's about more than survival. It's about thriving." The oldest man among them, a weathered soul named Samuel, looked contemplative. "But the world outside is still stormy, friends. We must remember that our journey is just as important as the promise he has given us." Anna's heart quickened, thoughts swirling. The storm wouldn't disappear. It would be part of their story. The divine presence had come to reassure. It hadn't removed the trials. She could see it now, a test of their hearts, a call to action. With deliberation, she spoke up, her voice ringing clear. "Let us reinforce our bonds. It's not enough to pray alone. We must come together, share our burdens, and lift each other up." The villagers murmured their agreement. The flicker of hope ignited a collective spirit, weaving through the air like a gentle breeze. They formed smaller groups, each gathering to share and pray. A vibrant energy pulsed through the room,
a unity blossoming like a garden. As prayers rose like incense, Anna found herself in a circle with her closest friends: Miriam, a talented seamstress; Jonathan, a brave farmer; and Lydia, a spirited young child full of dreams. With each heartfelt plea for strength and guidance, a sense of peace descended upon them. They were not alone. Then, as if the heavens were listening, Anna was struck with an idea. What if we use this time to prepare not just our hearts, but our hands too? We can serve our community, help those in need.
The enthusiasm swelled. "We can distribute food to those who are hungry," suggested Miriam. "And visit the sick," Jonathan added, his eyes shining with purpose. Lydia smiled brightly, her small hands clasped together. "And we can spread words of hope, tell stories of his light to everyone in town. They need to hear." In that moment, the fear that had lingered began to transform into a determination that crackled in the air. They were emboldened, not just by the presence they felt, but by the action they would take, the mission laid before them now illuminated with divine clarity. Yet in the depths of Anna's heart, unease still whispered. What lay beyond? Could they truly withstand the test? The darkness that threatened to return once the 40 days elapsed? Would their efforts be met with resistance, or would they find success? As if sensing her thoughts, Jonathan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Whatever challenges come, we will face them together. Our faith is stronger than fear." "Together," they echoed, voices lifting into the night sky, a promise to stand united. But in the back of her mind, a seed of doubt germinated. They had embraced the divine promise, yet the unpredictable nature of trials loomed. Would their light shine bright enough to overcome what lay ahead? As the moon hung full and golden, illuminating their path outside, the village gathered in resolve, prepared for the journey ahead. Hearts synchronized in devotion, they were now a force to be reckoned with. Yet a question hung in the air, pulling Anna's spirit into the vast unknown. Would their faith be enough, or would the shadows threaten to return with tools of their own? The winds began to stir again, echoing softly through the valley. How would they confront the trials that would inevitably come? What new mysteries awaited them as the days of preparation unfolded? The morning sun broke like an invitation, stretching light across the village, warming the gathered hearts still ablaze with purpose. Anna awoke with a renewed sense of determination. Today marked the beginning of their mission, a chance to transform their fear into action. With a quick brush of her hair, she hurried to the gathering place, her heart thrumming with anticipation. The villagers were forming a circle, energy buzzing like the bees awakening to a new day. They were ready. "Today is our chance to show love," Elijah exclaimed, his voice ringing with authority. "Let us be the hands and feet of his grace." Anna felt a flutter of excitement. She looked around, eyes landing on each eager face. There were no strangers here, only brothers and sisters united by one common aim. Together they felt indomitable. As they set forth, groups naturally formed based on each person's gifts. Miriam led a team of women to gather what they could find in their pantries, collecting food to share. Jonathan rounded up the farmers, and his voice boomed as he rallied them to offer the freshest produce.
Lydia, the tiny beacon of light, fluttered between both groups, bringing smiles and innocent laughter. In the midst of this, Anna wandered toward Samuel, whose wisdom and years were a comforting constant. "What do you think of our mission, Samuel?" she asked, a hint of concern edging her tone. He stroked his beard, the lines on his face deepening with thought. "Child, every act of love sends ripples far beyond our sight. We may not grasp the full significance until we meet him." The weight of his words resonated within her. Each act, no matter how small, became a thread pulling them closer to divine purpose. They were ever so intertwined, flowing towards something greater. As the sun climbed higher, transforming the day into a warm embrace, many villagers took to the streets with smiles illuminating with hope. The once quiet town came alive with laughter and joy. They sang songs of old, tales of faith imbued with new life, and the sound echoed against the art on the walls, remnants of heavenly stories. However, as Anna distributed baskets filled with bread and fruit, shadows still tugged at the edges of her thoughts. What lay ahead? The air felt heavy, almost charged with the specter of what could come. Could they expect pushback? Would their community embrace the love or recoil in fear? A boy approached, a ghost of hesitation in his eyes. "Will you still be here tomorrow?" he asked, clutching a small apple. His innocence pierced Anna's heart.
"Yes," she promised, kneeling to meet his gaze. "We are here for you, today and always." In that moment, she realized the power of their presence. They were not just offering food, they were weaving a tapestry of hope, confidence, and faith. No matter the trials, love would sustain them. As dusk settled, the villagers gathered again, this time to share stories of their day. Each tale spun new threads of connection. They were beginning to see change, to feel the hope igniting around them. Yet, within the warmth of their fellowship, Anna's heart remained restless. Was it enough? She gazed up at the sky, where the first stars began to twinkle, and whispered a silent prayer for protection and guidance. Would their faith hold strong through the coming trials, or would the shadows cast doubt within their hearts? The air crackled with uncertainty, but a profound sense of hope lingered too. What unforeseen challenges would confront their unity before the end of these 40 days? Would their community rally in strength, or would places of resistance emerge as they stepped boldly into the light? Days passed like flowing water, each moment a mix of faith and hope blossoming anew. The aroma of baked goods wafted through the village, mingling with laughter and songs carried on the gentle breeze. Anna found joy in serving her neighbors, laughter bubbling in her chest like a joyous hymn. Yet, beyond their warm rite, shadows flickered, teasing from the corners of her mind.
She felt the weight of the divine promise that was gifted to them, but could they truly withstand everything the world would hurl at their newfound resolve? One fateful evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, a ferocious storm brewed just beyond the village. The air turned thick with tension, a stark contrast to the warmth they had shared. "Gather together!" Elijah's voice rang out, resolute against the swelling wind. "Now we prepare for whatever may come." The community came alive, hastily moving towards the church, a safe haven against the impending tempest. Inside, spirits soared as prayers intertwined like vines, wrapping them in security. "We have faced fear before," Anna declared, rallying her friends. "Strength is found in unity. We stand as one no matter what darkness tries to approach." Outside, the storm howled, but within those walls, hearts resonated with hope. This was their moment. They were in the eye of the storm, together and steadfast. But just as their prayers reached a crescendo, a chilling silence enveloped them, a heaviness that felt like a weight atop their chests. Anna's pulse quickened, a fear gnawed at her heart. She stepped forward, raising her voice to cut through the unsettling quiet. "What do we do, Lord? We need your guidance." Suddenly, the doors of the church burst open with astounding force. A figure cloaked in darkness stood silhouetted against the blinding light. Cold winds swept in, swirling the air. Gasps rose from the crowd as they shielded themselves with hands raised in worship. "Fear not," the figure intoned, a malevolence tinged with deception, "for I bring a message of despair. Your unity is fragile, and you are tethered to fear." "No!" Anna's heart raced. "We will not be swayed." She boldly stepped forward, clutching the mantle of light within her spirit. "Our faith is a fortress. You have no power here." The storm raged violently outside, and the figure loomed closer, piercing eyes burning like embers. "Look around. Your loved ones. Can they withstand the weight of reality?" The words dripped with temptation, probing for cracks, seeking entry. With determination etched on her face, Anna turned to her villagers. "Remember your hearts. Remember your prayers. You've witnessed the miracles among us. Together, we reflect his glory. Stand strong." Murmurs of agreement filled the church, strength igniting in their collective spirit. They clasped hands tightly, forming an unbreakable chain of faith. "We stand as one," Elijah bellowed, also rising against the darkness. The congregation erupted in chorus, voices blending as one unified hymn. The echoes of their praise began pushing back the shadows, a divine energy swelling and roaring through the space like a swirling gale. As their voices resounded, light cascaded from above, illuminating the church with a warm golden glow that pushed back the encroaching darkness.
The figure's sneer faltered, wavering as the light engulfed him. In that moment, the tempest outside bowed to the fervor of the collective prayer. The winds shrieked, but what began as a howl transformed into whispers of hope. "God's protection surrounds you like a shield." The figure faltered, its form shrinking beneath the might of their faith. "Your unity is a force," it hissed, defeated yet relentless. "You may escape this trial, but doubt will creep back in like shadows after twilight."
Just as fear threatened to ignite again, something miraculous happened. The collective prayers merged into a divine promise that surged like fire. The darkness shook, then dissipated, swallowed whole by the light. And just like that, the storm began to calm. Outside, the turbulence quieted. The first stars peeked through the receding clouds, twinkling as if in affirmation. The villagers broke into joyous cheers, raising their hands in triumph. Tears of gratitude streamed down Anna's cheeks as she felt the warmth of God's love envelop them. "We did it!" she exclaimed, heart buoyed. Elijah beamed, his face radiant. "This is the power of faith and love. In standing together, they cannot divide us. We have conquered tonight." With each moment that followed, a wave of euphoria swept through the community, binding them closer. They had surrendered their fears and emerged transformed. And in their hearts, Anna and her neighbors found a truth greater than any challenge they would face, a promise that with love and unity woven through faith, no darkness could overshadow the light within. The 40 days had passed, but their journey was far from over. Strengthened with each trial faced, they were now prepared to herald others into the warmth of that divine embrace. "Come, let us continue this mission," Anna called, joy dancing in her eyes. The villagers echoed her spirit, ready to stand not merely as one, but as a burning beacon of hope that would shine through the darkest nights ahead. As they stepped onto the village streets, hearts and hands open with purpose and love, a singular thought seeped into the atmosphere. This was the true manifestation of the divine promise fulfilled. You need to subscribe now to never miss out on the next exclusive faith stories that ignite hope. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm. It truly helps our community grow. Comment below and share your reactions and personal testimonies about this transformative ending. You are a part of this journey. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need this manifestation of love and light in their lives. Together, let's continue to carry this torch of faith.